Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're peeling back the layers on a programming language you've almost certainly heard of, Python. It's a pretty amazing story that starts with just a hobby and ends up powering some of the most advanced technology on the entire planet.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with what Python actually is. Then we'll get into its really cool origin story, how it thinks under the hood, the community that makes it all possible, and finally, what's next for this incredibly influential language.
All right, first things first, let's tackle the most fundamental question. What exactly is Python? If you've ever wondered why it's just so popular, well, the answer really starts right here. Okay, in the simplest terms, Python is what we call a high-level language. And what that means is that it's designed to be closer to human language, to raw machine code. It's also interpreted, which means you can run your code line by line, a feature that is absolutely amazing for learning and for debugging. And finally, it's general purpose. You can use it for pretty much anything from building a website to training an AI. The whole goal from the very beginning was clarity and ease of use, which is exactly why it's a huge favorite for beginners and seasoned experts alike.
I mean, just look at this. The syntax is so unbelievably clean. This one line of code, that's all you need to create a variable. You just give it a name and assign it a value. It's really designed to be read almost like plain English. But the real magic is what you don't see.
Because to do this one simple task in some of the older languages, you'd be looking at multiple lines, a bunch of special symbols, and really strict formatting. Here, you just tell it what to do. And this focus on simplicity isn't about making things basic. It's about removing all the obstacles so you can focus on solving the actual problem. Honestly, that is Python's superpower.
And here's where you really see a huge difference from more rigid languages like C++ or Java. In Python, you don't have to tell the computer beforehand that X is going to be a number. The interpreter just figures it out on the fly. This makes the code so much cleaner and, honestly, it just lets you work a whole lot faster.
So how did this incredibly user-friendly language even come to exist? Well, let's dive into its surprising origin story, which, believe it or not, all started as one person's side project over a holiday break.
Yep, it all started way back in December 1989. A Dutch programmer named Guido van Rossum decided he wanted to create a new scripting language. The first version dropped in '91, and then, through these key releases like 1.0 and 2.0, it just steadily built up the features and the core philosophy that would lay the foundation for all of its future success.
And here's a fun fact for you. Its name has absolutely nothing to do with snakes. Van Rossum was a big fan of the show Monty Python's Flying Circus, and the name just stuck. It kind of adds a bit of a quirky personality to the whole programming world, right?
But Python's simplicity isn't just skin deep. To really truly understand its power, we need to look at how it thinks. How it cleverly manages all these complex tasks behind the scenes, especially when it comes to your computer's memory.
And that brings us to a really key question. How does the language manage your computer's memory without you even having to think about it? In a lot of other languages, this is a super complex task that's left entirely up to the programmer, but Python takes a totally different approach.
The whole system works kind of like a perfectly organized library. Python's memory manager is the librarian. It keeps track of every single object and variable, it allocates space when something is needed, and then it cleans it up when it's no longer in use. This makes sure your programs run efficiently without causing chaos or those dreaded memory leaks.
So, one of its main tricks is this thing called reference counting. Every single time you create an object, like the number 200, Python keeps a little counter of how many names are pointing to it. As soon as that counter drops to 0, Python knows that object is no longer needed, and it automatically swoops in and frees up that memory. It's like having an elegant automatic cleanup crew.
But look, a language is nothing without its users, and that brings us to the global community that turned Python from a simple tool into a worldwide phenomenon, a community that didn't just use Python, but actually built entire industries right on top of it.
This spirit of continuous learning and, collaborative problem solving is really at the heart of the Python community. It's way less about just writing code and much more about building and sharing knowledge together.
This collaborative spirit created this absolutely incredible ecosystem of accessible resources. But it's more than that. This is how we got game-changing tools like Django, which power sites like Instagram, and NumPy, which is the absolute bedrock of scientific computing and AI. These things weren't built by some big corporation. They came from the community for the community.
So where is this community-driven, super user-friendly language headed next? Well, I can tell you its journey is far, far from over.
From its really humble beginnings as a hobby, Python is now totally poised to remain a cornerstone of some of the most future-defining fields out there. Its simplicity and those powerful community-built libraries have made it the go-to language for AI, data science, automation, and so much more.
This journey from a personal project to a global standard really just shows you the power of combining simplicity with a strong community. And it leaves us with one final thought. The next chapter is still being written, and it's being written by everyone.